Ich habe auch keinen Zettel hier gefunden, ne, der eventuell einen neuen Code offenbart. So, die 5 war, glaube ich, da hinten, ne? Schon fast vergessen. Krass. So schneller kann ich auch nicht laufen. Also ist auch nicht... Nee, hat nichts gebracht. Okay. Ich drücke mal den roten Button. Ich kann ihn nicht drücken. Na gut. Dann halt nicht. Ich dachte, ich kann den roten Knopf schon drücken. So, dann, wir hatten zuerst on gedrückt, dann machen wir jetzt einfach mal off.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for. Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over?
Nein, bestimmt nicht.
Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine.
Okay, hatten wir
Unshackled
schon.
himself from
Back.
someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away.
Oh mein Gott.
And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him. For it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel.
Ja, cool. Richtig
Whatever
cool.
life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
Das ist doch auch schon wieder so ein...
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before
Ja.
him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
No. Das ist ja mal ein mega geiles Spiel. Das ist so gut. Nein, nicht schon wieder. Oh. So, ich will mal gucken nochmal, das probiere ich jetzt schon noch einmal, was passiert, wenn wir durch diesen escapen sozusagen. Ist das gut gemacht? Also ich nehme an, das war das Ende, aber es ist so, so gut gemacht. Ich bin ganz ehrlich. Hammerspiel. Der Erzähler auch einfach unglaublich gut, ne? Also ich finde, der hat eine Gehaltserhöhung verdient. Ich finde auch, dass diese Kritik von dem Spiel unglaublich gut ist, ne? Also auch dieses typische im Büro eingepfercht sein, dieses an Arbeitsstrukturen gebunden zu sein und so. Also schon so, du musst das machen, du musst das machen, du musst das machen. Ist schon... Hat auch, glaube ich, noch einen weiteren Hintergrund.
How wonderful. Stanley was alone. Finally. This is great, he thought to himself. This is what I've wanted all along. I got what I wanted.
Mhm. Es ist doch noch nicht das Ende. Huch. Ich guck mal gerade, ob meine Tür wieder zu
When
ist.
Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer
Immer noch
there.
zu. Immer noch zu. Wie gut. Huch. Das ist einfach ein unendliches Spiel. So, jetzt
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Ich überlege, ob wir zuerst fliehen oder ob wir erstmal in den Keller gehen. Wir gehen erstmal in den Keller, glaube ich, und danach fliehen wir.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that.
Wissen, was es ja alles so
And in
gibt.
such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished?
Oh
His
nee.
boss would think he was
Oh
crazy.
nö.
And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy.
ABC 12.
All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all.
Ich
None of it made any
kann die ganze
logical
Zeit einfach hier im
sense.
Kreis rennen.
And as
Andersrum?
Stanley pondered this,
Nein.
he began to make other strange observations. For example,
Okay.
why
Schade.
couldn't he see his feet
Schade.
when he looked down?
20 Uhr gibt's Essen.
Why did doors
Yeah.
close
Was gibt's
automatically
denn?
behind
Was
him
gibt's denn?
wherever he
Ich freue mich
went?
schon.
And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar.
Was
Were they
gibt's zu
simply
essen?
repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And
That
at
can't be
last,
real.
He came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief
Ich
Stanley
bin
felt to have
so
finally
gut.
found an
Ich finde es so
answer,
gut,
an
einfach nur.
explanation. His
So,
co-workers weren't
wir
actually gone.
sterben gleich.
He wasn't going to lose his job.
Huch.
He wasn't crazy after all.
Gut.
He
Ich
thought
warte
to
jetzt mal ganz
himself,
kurz ab
I
und dann...
suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined
Alter
himself
Burger.
flying and began to gently float above the ground.
No way.
Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so
Die
much
Hauptspeise
fun,
bleibt geheim.
and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid?
Ich rate.
And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating
Kann ich es
everything
überspringen?
that I'm
Wir kennen
doing
das schon.
and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's
Das ist so
describing my
dieses
thoughts. he
also wirklich
And while he thought it
extrem
all
lange
very
Reden.
odd and wondered if
Ich
this
dachte,
voice
vielleicht
stood
kommt da noch mal
tall
irgendwas
in
anderes.
their dream.
Schade.
The truth was
Weil er hat
that,
ja auch
of
die
course,
Tür nochmal zugemacht.
This was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself? Believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have
Bis
to take
später.
responsibility for
Hühnchen.
himself?
Hühnchen.
Stanley
Burger.
is
Es
as
gibt Burger.
awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all,
Also
he
ich
knew for
trinke noch mal einen
certain,
Schluck.
beyond a doubt,
Ich lasse
that
den mal
this
ganz
was
kurz
in fact a
labern.
dream.
Wenn er fertig
Did the
ist,
voice
dann
not see him float and make the
gehe
magical
ich dann
stars
tatsächlich
just a
nochmal den
moment
Weg.
ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it.
Also wenn ich
He
den
would
Typen in
prove
meinem
that
Kopf
he
hätte,
was
ne?
in control,
Ich
that
würde
this
mich,
was a
würd mich
dream.
wirklich, ich würde mich erschießen,
So
ne?
he closed his
Der
eyes
würde mir so auf den Senkel gehen,
and
wenn
he
er die ganze
invited
Zeit so
himself to
verredet.
wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please. It's all I want.
Das ist alles,
I
was
want
ich
my
kann.
apartment and my wife and my
Knöpfe drücken.
job.
Ganz viele
All I
Knöpfe
want
drücken.
is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal.
Boah, ich glaube, jetzt habe ich erstmal gerafft, was der Typ dir erzählen will.
Okay.
Oh, ist das bitter. Oh, das lasse ich mal ganz kurz für mich
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just
So.
someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Achso, schade. Schwarzer Bildschirm. Mal wieder.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
Es ist so doof einfach. Es ist so doof.
Mariella woke up on a day like any
es ist
other. She
aber
rose,
so
got
gut
dressed, gathered her belongings,
so
and walked
erschreckend.
to her place of work. But on this particular
Wie sie auch
day,
dasteht.
her
Oh.
walk was interrupted by the body of a man who
Ah,
had stumbled through
ist irgendwie
town
tot,
talking
ne?
and screaming to
Das ist
himself,
doof.
and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone
Steven.
knows what crazy people
Willkommen
look
zurück.
like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is
Ist
real
das bitter.
and what
Es
isn't.
ist so,
It was
so
comforting to
bitter.
think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and
Das
by
ist krass,
extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Es ist wirklich, wirklich so böse, bitterböse, dieses Spiel.